And good evening, everyone. ESS Empire State Sports proudly presents the Wise Guys Sports Talk Show. Your host tonight, Dave Bartlett, Joey Real, myself, Pete Goslaw, and our very special guest, SUNY Cortland's only SUNYAC MVP, Austin Grunder. Austin, welcome to the program. We're glad to have you aboard.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys having me on.
I can't wait to get into this. We followed you. Well, I followed you a little bit during the season, but not as much as Coach Rion. But we'll get right into that shortly. I'm going to turn it over to Joey now.
All right, Austin. This is awesome that this connection became about because whether or not we'll quickly get it out of the way. But obviously, I'm able to converse with you because my son was your manager for a couple of seasons at SUNY Cortland, and glad that he was, because I've been able to watch you play, and it's been an absolute pleasure to be able to watch you play. And even though Toby's all done with you guys, I can't wait for next season and to be able to watch you play again. We'll dive into some of your accomplishments from this season as the show goes on, but let's why don't we give our viewers a little chance to get to know you? Why don't you talk a little bit about your pathway, what led to Cortland, who you played in, where you went to high school, maybe some of your AAU teams, and any coaches that have impacted you along the way up until your career at Cortland?
Yeah, so I'm from Trumansburg, New York, which is about 15 minutes outside of Ithaca. I started playing basketball at a really young age. My dad was a basketball player, so he was the one who kind of got the ball rolling in terms of that. I went to high school in Trumansburg. It's a really small country town. I graduated with like 65 kids in my class, so everybody knew everybody. So there's some pros and cons to that. I played in a Class C school, but the Class C's during my time, the talent there was actually pretty good. So I was playing against some pretty good competition, and I ended up playing for Cortland Basketball Club, my AAU team. So that's kind of my connection with Cortland. I got recruited by a lot of Division III schools, a few Division IIs right out of high school, and I felt like Cortland was most fit because of my relationships with the coaches, and I already knew the area pretty well because I played AAU there. So that ultimately led to my decision by committing to Cortland.
Okay, so what year did you graduate from high school, Austin?
2017.
2017. So you're a couple of years older than Toby. Because
we are just so we are well aware of the talent level at Class C schools in New York State.
No, yeah. People usually, when you hear Class C, people kind of talk down about it, but there's a lot of really good athletes in Class C, like Tyler Bertram, who I played against a couple times. He went to play Division I. I think he's at Binghamton now, and there's some good talent there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, Dave, but so my school, and back when Pete and Dave went to Salmon River up here in Section 10, they were a Class C school at that time. But I've been a Class C school all my coaching career. And when Toby's team was coming through in the 2017 team, we went to states. We would never bump into a Section 4 team.
Yeah.
But you would have had to been looking at the same teams that we were looking at if you were thinking of moving on in states. And one of them was always Lake George. Lake George was always a power out of Section 2. We faced them more than once in state playoffs.
Yeah.
But you're right. Class C especially, because the Class C school means, and I'm going to ask you if usually the Class C school, most of them probably are just big enough to have a second winter sport. Like, we're a big hockey school, so is Salmon River. Did you have a second sport at Trumansburg in the winter?
The only winter sport we really had besides basketball was indoor track. So
okay, but you did offer something else, and where I'm taking this is because up here where we're from in Section 10, the Class D schools they're really good, but Class D schools don't have another sport to take away their kids. You know, kids grow up in our community, they're getting tugged at at kindergarten to either play hockey or basketball, whereas a Class D school, you grow up knowing, hey, if I'm going to play a sport for my school here, I'm playing basketball.
Mhm.
So, so that's why I'm saying Class C sometimes I think they get a tough break because we're not getting all the athletes the way a Class D school would, or the bigger schools, a Class B school, you just got more kids to pick from. Class C is a really fine line. And so I totally get that when you're talking about, hey, you were a Class C school. I'm very, that's close to my heart because I know what a Class C basketball school goes through to try to get to the next level. So
That's exactly what I meant by that comment.
yeah, it's not easy. It's tough at the Class C level. That's what I think. So.
Some kids don't even play too. I mean, I had a bunch of athletic kids in my class, and 3 or 4 of them ended up not even playing basketball because they didn't want to. So you always run into that obstacle as well.
Right. Well,
So
and then there are.
What kind of accolades and stuff did you earn during your high school career?
I had scored 1,900 career points in high school, so that put me up. I think I want to say 3rd or 4th in Section 4 history, but don't quote me on that. I won multiple MVPs for my IAC, which is Interscholastic Athletic Conference. I was named Elite 10 Player of the Year and a bunch of all-region teams. I think I made first team all region or Class C or whatever it is 2 times, and then I made it freshman and sophomore year. I can't remember what teams, but yeah, I had a few accomplishments when I wrapped it up in high school.
Nice.
So when you were playing for this AAU team at Cortland, Coach Span knew about you, see you then? Did he have that opportunity to see you then, or did you just show up on campus and say, hey, I'm coming to play for you, Coach?
No, yeah. So usually the first AAU tournament of my season was at Cortland. It was a Cortland shootout. So I played with CBC, and our team was pretty good regionally. There's obviously some other powerhouses, but I played at Cortland, and that's when Coach Maurice Kearney, he watched me play one game. Then he started watching a couple other games, and that's kind of how the ball got rolling in terms of that. And then after my AAU season was finished, that next following year, Coach Mo went to a lot of my games, and then Span went to a few of my games. So that's how they first got to know my name from that Cortland AAU tournament.
Well, obviously, Coach Span had to have been pretty happy when you made the decision to go there. What's it like playing for Coach Spanbauer? We had the pleasure of interviewing him. Now it's probably pushing 2 years, and it was during COVID times when we interviewed him. But what's it like playing for him? Because he just seems like a genuinely really good guy, really cool guy.
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's really easy playing for him because he gives you a lot of freedom and liberty to do whatever you want on the court, as long as you're making the right decisions. He puts a lot of trust in his players, and he's always recruited guys that are really good on the offensive end. So usually our brand of basketball is pretty fun to watch. We shoot a lot of threes, and we put a lot of points up on the board. So, and the fact that he gives us that freedom to play how we want to play with some restrictions, it's always fun. And he's a down to earth guy, and he has a really good relationships with his players. So I don't really have anything bad to say about him at all.
Austin, what's your off season like? If you could tell everybody at home here that's watching, what do you do to stay prepared for the upcoming season?
Well, I'm from a really small school, so it's hard to get into a gym because of all the regulations at school. So I have a hoop outside, which I do a lot of my training at, and I travel 2 to 3 times a week to Cortland. It's a 50-minute drive. And me and Mo get some workouts in over the summer, and I do that. I also try to hit the weight room as much as I can, and just usually try to stay active. I usually work like landscaping jobs and that sort of thing to kind of keep my legs fresh, and so I'm not just sitting on my butt all day.
That's what I was going to ask next. Is what do you have for a work schedule? But you just said that, so that'll keep you active. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Misha mentioned last week about a league in Syracuse that a summer league that you played in as well. Is that still going or something that you
No,
participate?
yeah. So it's Syracuse Elite Camp. The head of the Syracuse Stallions runs it. And yeah, I played that for my first time this past year. Coach Mo hit me up to play, so I played that. It's a really good league. There's a lot of really good players in it, and it sucks that I have to drive an hour and a half to find some relevant competition. But no, yeah, I plan on playing in that league again this year. And then one of my friends from college, he's from the Whitney Point area, and he said that there's a Binghamton league that is supposedly supposed to be a good competitive league. So I'm gonna go see what that's all about too. And I mean, throughout the summers, I've been playing in different summer leagues. They used to have one in Ithaca, which is kind of an outdoor league, but there was some decent competition there too.
I don't know if I want to get into this right now because it might take me forever, but I hold in front of me I went down for your basketball banquet, and so they had a flyer
Yeah.
with all the season's accomplishments. I don't know why they just didn't title it the Austin Grunder ceremonial flyer. So let's just number one, probably I'm going to save the one that I think is the most impressive for last, but the most impressive stat from Austin. But so listen to this, guys. He ranked in the here we go. He had a triple double, which was the first ever in school history. Only the second time ever done ever in the SUNYACs, which is just amazing. You would have thought that it'd been done before, but he's only the second one that ever did it. He was 9th in the nation in total field goals made, 15th in the nation in double doubles, 18th in the nation in scoring at 22.3 a game, 25th in the nation in rebounds at 11.1 a game. So he averaged a double double. And the thing that impresses me the most about Austin when I watch him play is from three, he is 37%. From the field, he's 52%. That's a player. That's not a guy that's just chucking up shots and getting 22 points a game because he's taking 40 shots. He shoots a high percentage and gets these stats. So Austin, talk a little bit about your style, because I haven't seen, I love watching Division III and SUNYAC basketball, especially. I haven't seen anything like you in quite some time, because you can knock down the three, you can play big, you've got a great mid-range game. How'd you get all this? You're a good ball handler, you're a good passer. Seems like you're the total package. I know you're humble, but is it a lot of work? Have you been lucky with hey, I just got blessed with some certain skills? I mean, talk about it. I mean, you got a great all-around game.
I appreciate that, but yeah, so when I was really young, I was always one of the taller kids in my grade. So one of my coaches, Damon Reed, he always emphasized dribbling, always being able to put the ball on the court, so I'm not just one-dimensional. So as I got a feel for that, I kind of just ran with that, and I used to be kind of like a one move and then kind of go score. But as time has went on and I've developed more, one of the biggest things is that just my body matured. I mean, I got bigger, I got stronger, I got more athletic. So that kind of took everything to a whole nother level. And it's just a lot of work. I mean, me and Mo put a lot of work in trying to hone in my outside shot. And I still think I could shoot better from the 3-point arc, because I there's some games I usually start off kind of slow. I did that in my first year as well. And then my dad's always emphasized, it's kind of the mid-range is kind of a lost art in the game. And if I'm able to beat my defender off the dribble and get to the lane, they're going to kind of favor that. And then that's when I use my height to just kind of shoot over them in the mid range. So I kind of patented that this year and really used that to my advantage.
How tall are you?
I'm 6'6" 3/4", so I tell people I'm 6'7".
I would.
Close enough. Yeah.
I've been 6'5" for a long time. I don't know that I ever actually was 6'5", but I was close.
Yeah.
And now I'm almost 60, so I'm sure I'm not even close at all anymore, but I'm still 6'5".
Well, and Austin, again, I watched you play a couple of times this year, and then trying to watch you online as much as I could. But that was the thing that impressed me the most. I mean, the fact that you can bang the three is great, but I love your mid-range game and exactly what you were just saying, where, okay, I can't finish at the rim, but I made a move and I'm going to be able to get up and elevate over the top of this guy and knock down a 12 to 15 foot shot. And
yeah, teams send so much help, and they usually pack the paint in usually when we're going against them. So rather than going in there trying to draw fouls or draw charges, I kind of use it to my advantage to just shoot over the top of them, and it happened to work out.
Now, 6'7", obviously is great size, but in the SUNYACs, when you're asking your 6'7" guy, I mean, for the most part, for the games that I saw, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I know you did play some man-to-man when needed, but you played a lot of 2-3 zone, and Austin's in the middle of the 2-3 zone. So, I mean, he's around the basket all the time, but at 6'7", boy, if you could get a 6'8", 6'9" guy so that you could get out onto the wing, is that would you prefer to be out on the wing defensively?
No, yeah, I mean, I prefer being on the wing defensively and offensively. If we could add a guy that was 6'8", or even my height, that kind of was more of a dominant big, because I mean, even though I've been blessed with my height, I've never really categorized myself as a big. I've always kind of categorized myself as a shooting guard or a small forward. So yeah, I mean, if we were able to get a guy that could anchor down low and then me on the wing, it'd be tough sledding for a lot of teams if we were to continue to go 2-3.
I was doing some research, Austin, and I want to bring up one week where you had in February, the week of February 6th, you were named the SUNYAC Athlete of the Week. Now, I want to give you the totals for this. You averaged 22.3 points, 11.7 rebounds, 5.3 assists, 2 blocks per game, and a 3-0 week. Now, here's a good one. You shot 59% from the floor that week and 44% from 3-point line. At 6'7", that's unheard of. Now, I'm not saying it's unheard of, but all I want to say is most guys your height are so clumsy, they're under the basket. You're not doing that at all. You're putting up serious numbers and stuff like that, and you're all over the floor. I want to commend you for that. I mean, I could go through routinely week by week what you're doing, but you already know what you're doing. Your numbers don't lie, so I can see why you were made SUNYAC Player of the Year, and I congratulate you on that. And I can't wait to see what more you have coming.
I appreciate that.
How many years of eligibility you got left, Austin?
I got one more year.
One more year?
Kind of had a unique journey with how everything panned out, but yeah, I got one more.
You're actually going to have your 5 years, right? Because you had 1 year you're ineligible, or no?
Well, so I got recruited to play at Cortland, and then I got to Cortland as a 17-year-old kid, and I went through the whole process, and then right before, I mean, for some reason, I just wasn't having fun with it. For some reason, I kind of lost the passion for a little bit, and I ended up not playing my first 2 years. So I didn't play till my original freshman year season, and Cortland has a rule that you can't play a sport for longer than 10 semesters. So I played my first year, and then COVID hit, and I took the whole year off to work because I didn't want to use a year of eligibility, and I also didn't want to be at Cortland when all the rules and regulations were taking place. And then I came back this past year, so I got one more. So basically, I've been in school for 4 years, and I got one more semester for my degree, and then one more year eligibility.
Oh, okay.
And what's your degree?
Communications.
Cool.
So you'll have your degree in communications, and then you're sticking around for another year just to play basketball, correct?
So in the fall, this coming fall, I'll end off my classes. So I'll finish off my classes, and then in the spring, I'll do an internship, and then I'll graduate next spring.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. So I'm still reading, by the way. I don't want Joey to steal the show. I can read. That's a shocker in itself. So I want to go back to the Plattsburgh game where you actually, that's when you had the triple double. You beat Plattsburgh 95-61, quite convincing. 17 points, 12 rebounds, and a career high of 10 assists. Now, this is where I'm reading this, so I'm hoping that it's legit. It's the third triple double by a SUNYAC player in 11 seasons. It's only the first time by a Cortland player. So you're in the record books for Cortland, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So how can you describe how that game was? Because it doesn't look like you had too much. You didn't have to break too much of a sweat that night.
No, yeah. I mean, I remember that game. The game was at home, and we just got off to the gates. I mean, roaring. We started off the game on I want to say like a 20-5 run or something crazy like that. And obviously, I'm kind of pick and choose where my shots are, trying to take the best shots as we possibly can. And they were face guarding me, and they were sending me a lot of help. So we had a bunch of shooters on the outside, and I was able to find them. And I know early in the game, I was like, damn, I have a lot of assists right now. I could just feel it. And then the second half, I was like, keep racking them up. And I knew that I was kind of close to 10 assists. But, and then in the second half, we had a play call for me to get the last assist. And Riley ended up making the shot to get the 10th assist. So, yeah, I've always been a scorer my majority of my career, but the past couple of years, I've been learning how to facilitate more for others as well.
Nice.
Well, there was so many nights, Austin, that Toby would text me, Dad, Austin had 29 tonight. Austin had 32 tonight. Dad, Austin was stupid tonight. Did you you didn't have a 40-point game this year, did you?
I had a 39-point game,
39
faults, and I missed 8 free throws. So,
Oh,
yeah, I wish I could have had that game back because I'm not one to miss a lot of free throws. And the fact that I missed 8 in one game, it still kind of haunts me to this day. But
that stinks. But no, I'll tell you, it was so much fun though. He would keep me updated on what you were doing, and I could just tell how much he enjoyed watching you play, and to be able to get to watch you to play, and and I can't wait. I hope it works out that when you come to Potsdam this year, and even Plattsburgh, if I can get to them both, I will, because it's just been a pleasure. Any idea? If you got any idea what's coming in, you got some big time help coming for you this year for your final season?
I know the coaches have been doing a lot of recruiting because they weren't happy. They weren't happy. It's not that they weren't happy with the season, but they expect more from Cortland, because Cortland's a pretty prestigious basketball and just athletic school to begin with. And I know we got like 5 or 6 recruits coming in. I don't know too much about them. I know we got one pretty decent big guy who's like 6'4", but he's got some weight on him. So I'm interested to see what that's all about. And it's kind of hard to judge because I haven't seen him play in person. So I kind of wait to see what my viewpoint on them is. But I mean, we got a good, solid core group of guys who were really young last year, and we matured a lot. We won our last 7 of 8 during the season. So I'm excited to see what kind of work that the guys did throughout the summer and see what we can do when we get back to school.
Well, you mentioned winning I was just getting ready to go there. You guys made a great late season push just to get into the SUNYAC playoffs. How much, I mean, I would assume that that's going to be some help for the returning players, like a confidence builder. Because one of those games out of that 7 out of 8 was when you came up here to Potsdam and you really, you played well against Potsdam in what was a huge game.
No, yeah, that was a really big game. I think that, I mean, we started off the season really, really slow, and we knew that I'm pretty sure that Potsdam game, I remember telling the team, I was like, we need this one, because if we don't win this one, Potsdam's going to be another game up, and it's going to be harder for us to make the SUNYAC playoffs. And I remember that was a really big game for us, and it kind of established what we were as a team. And we kind of got hot late, and I don't think that any other SUNYAC team wanted to play us, because I mean, we lost to New Paltz by 3 points in their gym, and the game could have went. I mean, we started off beating them by like 11 points and completely threw it away. So, yeah, I don't think a lot of teams wanted to play us towards the end of the year, and that gives us confidence for next year that we're going to be returning basically everybody. So we should have a good shot at the thing next year with the chemistry wise.
Well, awesome. That's what we're rooting for. We hope that Coach Span and you guys can make a great push. Obviously, we're from the North Country. Potsdam is nearby for us, but I'm not going to stop rooting for you, buddy. So, so we grew up in this area. SUNYAC ball means a lot to us. We grew up in a time when Potsdam State was a national power. This is in the 80s, well before you were around. But how do you get the sense as you play in the SUNYAC conference that it's a well-respected conference, and that you guys are just as good as any other team out of the 450 D3 teams in the nation?
Oh, no, yeah, for sure. I mean, there's usually 5 or 6 teams in the SUNYAC. The teams that make the playoffs, I mean, it's usually anybody could win it. It really does. And there's a lot of talent that's spread throughout the league, and I think it's heavily respected by other schools as well. I mean, if you look at it, even for the girls' side of things, I mean, they made an at-large bid even with not winning their conference tournament. So I think the SUNYAC holds weight, and there's a lot of players that are in the SUNYAC that could probably be playing at a much higher division and be playing at bigger schools from all over parts of the country. But yeah.
Yeah, there's no lack of talent whatsoever in that area or D3 either. Like Joey said, we all grew up watching Potsdam and never realized, probably later in life, that D3 and the SUNYAC have a lot of talent, and it's excellent basketball night in and night out. And usually it's not a blowout. Unfortunately, we just talked about the Plattsburgh blowout, but most of them are tight games right down the wire, which the spectators like.
It's usually a dogfight. I mean, that's kind of our mentality is we get through our non-conference schedule, and then once those SUNYAC games come in, it doesn't matter if the team is at the bottom of the totem pole. They're going to give you their best shot, and you're going to give them your best shot. So more often than not, the games usually are pretty close, or they're close for majority of the game, and then one team kind of breaks away towards the end. But yeah,
probably every night seems like a rivalry night.
Yeah, I mean, we go head to head, and especially when you play 2 times throughout the season, that second time usually is a little bit more nastier than the first.
So I know we don't have much time left, but I wanted to touch base with you on this, Austin. Where do you see yourself after college? What do you want to do? Do you think there's any kind of basketball in the future for you? Or?
I'd like to think that there will be some professional opportunities overseas. It depends on obviously a multitude of different things, but well, I'll kind of reach that once it comes, and I'll kind of weigh my options. But I'm kind of just focused on finishing my degree and finishing off the last year. And one of my big dreams is to be a college basketball coach, whether it's Division III or Division I. So hopefully that I've developed a big enough name that I can kind of send my resume out to different schools and kind of hop on as an assistant coach and see if I can work my way up.
That sounds like a great goal. It really does. Yeah.
Well, that would be awesome. Obviously, the coach you're playing for right now played at SUNY Cortland. Believe it or not, Pete and Dave and I probably wouldn't remember, but we probably saw your coach play in the 80s at Potsdam State. We just didn't know who he was at the times.
Yeah.
But yeah, hey, and if you get a good gig somewhere down the line. I'm not too old yet. You need a good old guy sort of assistant coach. I'm bald like Spanbauer.
Yeah. I'll be
Toby
sure
can keep your
to
stats.
text Toby.
Yeah, get Toby. Well, Austin, one thing I did want to ask before Pete wraps things up is Toby told me to ask you, give us a little example of a coach span practice. He told me something about, ask Austin about the coach span rules. He tried to tell me how some rules just get made up all of a sudden at the snap of a finger.
No, yeah. So we'll be doing, it's usually when we're doing like live drills, whether it's 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5, and he kind of establishes the rules right in the beginning. And then they can change drastically. Like say we're doing a 3-on-3, and if you score, it's +1. If you get a stop, it's -2. And then some team is kind of blowing everybody out of the water, and then he changes it to a point is +4, and then a stop is -1. So it's kind of hit or miss with everything. I remember one time we were doing 5-on-5, and one of the teams was up by like 14 or something like that, and he towards the end he was like, all right, it was like a last 30-second type of drill, and he was like, if you make this shot, it's +15, and he kind of just does it to kind of change things around and kind of make things easy going. But it's funny, but at the same time you're competitive, so if that shot were to go in, you'd be kind of tight. But
well, that's exactly how Toby had a different number. He said it was like 12, but he said, yeah, there's one time we were doing 5-on-5, and all of a sudden he blows the whistle. Okay, you're down 12, next basket, then you score, it's 13 points.
Yeah. He's a funny guy for sure.
Well, it keeps everybody entertained and on their toes, that's for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Austin, we can't thank you enough for coming on. This is great. We have the SUNYAC MVP. That's quite an honor. And it's an honor for us to be able to talk to the SUNYAC MVP. You're well spoken, and we can't wish you can't wish you enough luck. Hope the overseas things happen, and you get a chance to play a little professional ball. That would be awesome. The stories. Yeah, go for it. If you get that opportunity, man, go for it. And if it'd be okay with you, if you're over in Europe somewhere playing, if you don't mind the time change, we'd love to interview you when you're playing professional ball over in Europe.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate you guys having me on. It was fun.
Well, thank you very much for coming on, Austin. We wish you nothing but the best moving forward.
Definitely look forward to watching you this year.
Absolutely.
Hopefully it'll end up with a SUNYAC championship.
There you go. Good luck. That's going to be it for tonight here on ESS Empire State Sports and the Wise Guy Sports Talk Show. For Dave, Joey, myself, Pete Goslaw, and our special guest, Austin Grunder. Good night, everybody, and stay safe.